Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, released in 1998 by Konami, is a strange mix of 3D platformer and playable sitcom. I laughed, I cried, I did collecting on the side, and although the camera was rough, I seldom ever died. The game starts as every great game should, with public indecency. Our heroes ran out on their tab after Abisimaru's naked negotiation fails to sway the proprietors into a discount. It's then that a giant peach flies overhead and appears to be heading straight for Oedo Castle. We catch a brief glimpse of the villains right before they launch an attack on the castle and fire a massive fucking laser beam. Surprisingly, the beam doesn't do any damage, but it does however turn the building into something much worse, a European castle. Our heroes spring into action to save the lord of the castle, but not before returning home to change into something a little less revealing. The game starts proper and I begin messing around with the controls to get my bearings and do a little air humping. Mystical Ninja is a little bit action, a little bit adventure, but mostly it's silly jokes and questionable camera angles. Everything works as it should, but even with control over the camera, getting around in tight spots can be kind of a hassle at times. You can swing the camera around behind you for a better view, but sadly if it hits a wall or something, you're just going to have to make the best of it. You have a few characters and attacks at your disposal, but they're all pretty similar to handle. Where they differentiate is in their special weapons and their magical abilities, but we'll get to that when the time comes. For now, we head out to Oedo Castle while exploring the town for information and such. A lot of the NPCs have funny dialogue that changes over the course of the game, so it's worth it to talk to them multiple times. Every town has a variety of shops to enter, ranging from restaurants that restore health, to shops that can sell items that restore health, to inns that can also restore health, as well as save your game. You have the ability to purchase armor as well, which will absorb a certain number of hits, but given the fact that health is everywhere, it's largely unnecessary unless you just have a lot of extra cash on hand and it's burning a hole in your pocket. There's also this quaint little building with a fortune teller in it that exclaims PULASUMA every time you visit him. This dude is really handy if you get stuck because he will tell you the next objective and what you need to do to complete it. Heading for Oedo Castle, we find out that the bridge is broken and that we'll need a certain upgrade to our pipe that can only be acquired at Mount Fuji by a pipe maker named Mokube who went there to improve his skills. With the first major objective clear, I head out to hit up a coffee shop for a map and then make my way to Mount Fuji. On the way there, I pick up the first of many silver fortune dolls. If you collect 4 of these, they will increase your maximum health by 1 heart. There also exists a golden variant that just straight up gives you a heart, so it helps to keep your eyes peeled because these can be just about anywhere, but the N64 draw distance does you 0 favors in finding them. A quick little climb up Mount Fuji allows us to meet up with Mokube and acquire the first of many upgrades, the chain pipe. This gives Goemon a little more range, but it's quite slow when attacking. The main use for this is to look fashionable, and also cross gaps that have star blocks similar to the ones that we saw outside the castle, so I head back to do just that. It's here that I switch controllers because the joystick is doing whatever the fuck it wants at this point, and it's making getting this fortune doll way harder than it needed to be. Are all my retro controllers just dying at this point? It's also here that I'm bringing up the music because this game has some insanely catchy and funky tracks in it. I love this run up to the castle. It's such a sick beat. Anyway, inside the castle we're introduced to the key and door loop that we'll be seeing a lot of. Essentially there's a variety of keys and locks that you need to find in order to progress, as well as an elephant item that gives you access to the map and an arrow item that shows you where the boss is. Outside of some platforming and light puzzle aspects, the dungeons never really get too complicated, so it's pretty much a straight shot to the first boss. Before that, however, we meet up with an eccentric fellow named Baron who claims that they want to turn Oedo Castle into a beautiful stage. Abisimaru ain't having that shit and just wants to grab this dude by the throat and beat him up a bit. What makes this dialogue great is that there's a studio audience in the background, complete with applause and laugh tracks, so right off the bat you know this game isn't taking itself too seriously, so neither should you. Upon entering the darkened room, I'm met with the first boss, Congo. This stone-faced dude just pretty much breathes fire and spins around in a circle with lasers. I do what all those knights in the back alleys taught me best, and lay my pipe down on his chin. After the battle, I receive a miracle moon, in the shape of a moon, and speak with the lord of the castle. He asks us to do him a favor and catch the guys who transformed the castle and gives us the super pass, which allows us to proceed to the next area. It's not much to go on, but hey, whatever drives the plot forward. Making my way through the region, I come across the house of the wise man, but as I approach it, the house is blown up in a flash of light. The only thing that remains is the Triton that summons the giant robot known as Impact. We run into Baron again, and after calling him a weirdo, he threatens us with his giant robot, so I give a little toot on the conch and call a robot of my own.
だ鉄人だ今解き放てよ鋼の魂行くねブレイクダウン悪い奴らをぶち壊せ必殺限界パワーだ百裂パンチ俺はゴージャスインパクト
What a fucking jam. Now that's how you introduce a giant robot fight. This section is more or less just blowing shit up to fill up your oil gauge and money for the boss fight to come. It can be a little tricky to get the hang of things, but you can't really lose per se. After a little bit of destruction, it's boss time. These giant robot fights are pretty easy, but also very engaging. You can punch, shoot lasers, and also use your pipe as kind of a grappling hook to pull them in and punish them. There's little combos that you can do, but they can be a bit finicky to pull off and require a few too many button inputs, so I usually just hit him with the triple punch kick combo and he eventually goes down. Impact leaves us to go film a movie in America, and we are once again on the hunt for the gang of weirdos. After arriving in Zazen Town, we meet up with an old friend named Yai. She was tracking the Peach UFO after investigating a series of disturbances across Japan. She informs us that this gang goes by the name Peach Mountain Shoguns, and eventually decides to join us in our mission to kick their butts. While searching around Zazen Town for information, I find out that the children are going missing, mostly the ones with some form of dancing talent. It appears that if we're to proceed, we'll need to get by the bridge guard, Benkei. Only one person has ever gotten past him before, and that's Ushiwaka, so the search is on for a way to get to the next area. Now, this is a really obscure reference that I, as an uncultured Canadian boy, am unqualified to speak on, but I'll give it a shot anyway. This interaction is based on a story called Benkei on the Bridge, where a young Ushiwaka bested him in a duel, and Benkei swore his loyalty to the man who defeated him. It's said that Benkei protected his lord against 500 soldiers, killing over 300 of them, and died on his feet as arrows rained down on that very bridge. A fascinating story. Too bad this game just has us roll logs at him until he falls over. And that's the story of how the Achilles heel means someone's weak point. I can't help but feel something got lost in the translation here. Even Abisimaru comments that there's something fishy going on here. Benkei gives us something from his collection, which just happens to be our old pal Sasuke. It appears that his batteries have popped out though, so for the time being he's inactive. I guess he flew here when the wise man's house exploded. Onward to the Yamato region. I do a little rock pushing for some goodies and eventually come upon a travel agency. They tell me that they can carry me to the next location, but the dragon has gone wild and they ask us to help. After a short but snaky run up the dragon's back, we find the next boss as well as get some exposition from a guy named Colon. I'm not even touching that one. He gloats that they used the dragon to kidnap the children and calls us annoying clowns before sicking his robot on us. Thankfully for me, this thing can't hit the broadside of a barn and goes down quite quickly. Rocketing out of the sky, a blue-haired child who is actually the dragon offers to help us out and gives us a hint that the hot springs is where the Peach Mountain gang is taking the children. He gives Yai a flute to call upon him, and now we have the ability to fast travel to any location that we've previously been to. Fokipoke Village is known for their dancing, so most of the children here have been abducted. The only kid left in the village wears a fake beard to try and remain safe. There's talk about a god of money and a dog that gives us a hint as to how to open the next dungeon. After a short climb up Kampira Mountain, I make a quick stop at the coffee shop, as one does, before making a donation to the god of money, which just means throwing coins into a box 5 times. I have bestowed upon me the Medal of Flames, which is just a flaming charge shot for my normal money throw. With this, however, I can light the torches, which gets me into the next dungeon. Actually, that's not entirely true. We need to do one more thing before getting into the dungeon, but it's going to require me going back to Zazen Town. Get used to me saying that. Zazen Town is the place where pretty much everything goes down. I head back and talk to Ushiwaka, who is now tiny. He says that the sweets in the Golden Shrine will make you shrink if you eat 8 of them in a row. At the shrine, he tasks Ibisimaru with collecting the sweets, and we get this terrifying mini-game inside of what appears to be a cupboard, where you're trying to get the sweets as well as remain hidden from this Mr. Saturn-looking thing. Shrinky power and flaming metal in hand, it's time to get to the next dungeon. For real this time. Ghost Toys Castle has some funky ass music, I tell you what. This place even has a crane game. Put a Space Harrier cabinet right beside it and I'll never fucking leave. First things first, gotta turn the power on. There's a bunch of traps and enemies, but nothing too crazy except for this room full of faces. I find the switch for the power and nail the crane minigame first try because that's how the fuck I roll. Ibisimaru gets a camera sub-weapon which when charged up will reveal hidden items and platforms, as well as make transparent enemies vulnerable. I don't know why, but I really like the money flower and these little shogi tile platforms. The rest of the dungeon goes off without a hitch. There's this one room with a bunch of jump ropes which should strike fear into the heart of any hardcore gamer. The thought of cardio. There's also this giant pool table where you need to hit the balls in order, but it just goes to show how random and goofy this game can be at times. Arriving at the boss, I find it kinda hilarious that the sign right before the elevator explains how to find his weakness. Dude is just asking to be killed. You have to use the camera to find his weak point and then just whack his heart whenever it becomes visible. He goes down like a chump and we get the miracle flower in the shape of a flower. Like a spicy meal, I'm once again irritated by Colin. He claims he was giving the children a lesson in Peach Mountain dancing, but he's interrupted by the leader of the gang, Spring Breeze Dancin'. He refers to our heroes with some made up names like Antonio and Fernandez before disappearing. Goemon is asking the real questions here and inquires about their guerrilla stake plan. Colin tells us not to come to the Chukoku region, no matter what. Silly bitch, I'm going to go there just because you told me not to. Now that the children are back, I can open that one door on the bridge from a while ago, but it's going to require me going back to Zazen Town. This one kid says that his father competing in the folk dancing championship is dancing like Jekyll Maxon. Heading through the now open door, I arrive in a new area where I'm going to need to look for some batteries so that we can get our buddy Sasuke back online. One of the batteries is found in this desert area, just kind of floating there. The other one is a bit more hidden in that you'll need to take a picture of this huge tree and then climb to the top to get the final battery. Electro Shine Unite! Sasuke is back in action and ready to kick some Peach Mountain ass, so he joins the party. The bombs that he throws can be used to open cracked doors and walls, so I head back to the tunnel I spotted earlier to do a little demolition, which opens up the path to the Festival Temple Castle. This place is a bit of a pain to get around. There's a lot of intersecting pathways, but after bumbling about for a bit, I eventually find the keys that I need to progress, as well as the kunai of severe cold. This allows me to freeze the hot platforms as well as enemies, so I poke around for a bit to find the path forward. I also find this meat hammer for Ibisimaru, which doesn't get much use, but it's neat in concept. It turns dropped items into food, so it's great if you're low on health and need a little pick-me-up. This place gets pretty vertical in a hurry. You have to ride these, fish things up to the top of the area, but it's a little bit disorienting and there's some tricky items to find along the way. At the top, I'm faced with the next boss. All you really do is run around in a circle and dodge the plates that are being thrown at you. Somewhere in the cycle, a couple of the plates will be red colored and you can hit them back at the boss. Super easy fight. We get the miracle star in the shape of a star and are once again bothered by the Peach Mountain gang. Sharon spills the beans that without the robot we just defeated, the barrier blocking the passage to Kyushu isn't being powered anymore. The mystery woman appears and introduces herself in style as Kitty Lily. She tells us that Kyushu has already become their stage and asks Sharon to pick her up some foundation, but only the best stuff. Sasuke tells us that he heard that Kyushu is in trouble. Thanks, Sasuke. I'm happy that you listened to the conversation that just took place. On the way to Kyushu, we run into Omitsu from Oedo Town, who is Goemon's love interest. She's on a delivery for the restaurant that she works at. Either their food is incredible, or they're really fucking dedicated to their delivery service to go this far out. I can't even get DoorDash from some of the places in my own city. As she crosses the bridge into Kyushu, the island is snatched up into the sky through this trippy looking effect. Goemon screams out for Omitsu, but without an objective, Yai suggests that we should ask the fortune teller, but it's going to require me going back to Zazen Town, because when your brain is full of da, you can always PULASUMA. The fortune teller tells us to head north for Mount Fear, where we will meet someone useful to us. However, I first need to go to Oedo Town to complete a training session for Goemon. You need to throw metal boxes at these oyakatas and stop them from popping your balloons. I had to redo this so many times and I don't even really know why. I tried super hard to manage their size but got my balloons popped like 5 or 6 times until I just said fuck it and spun around in a circle while mashing the throw button. What's fucking hilarious is that this actually worked. I aced the challenge on this try with minimal effort and gained Goemon's new power, the ability to go Super Saiyan. I'm not even joking, that's actually what happens. It allows him to move these metal boxes that I've been seeing around and unlocks the next area. He also gets a bit stronger while the spell is active, but takes more damage as well. A short trek through a tunnel later, we end up in the snow region. The festival village is the place to party. We're not here on R&R though, so after gathering some information, I find out about a back way that goes up Mount Fear involving some ladders, but it's going to require a way to break the ice blocking the path. Bombs won't do, sadly, but one NPC informs us that Mokube from the beginning of the game has increased his skills. Might as well head to Mount Fuji and see if he can pimp my pipe. With level 2 weapons, I can break the ice, but most importantly, Yai can do this. I pretty much never use this. Heading back to Mount Fear, I use 1% of my newfound power and send this rock to the fucking moon, splitting it in half along the way. At the top of the mountain, I meet the old witch, who is totally not looking at my crotch. She senses the wise old man and can summon his spirit to talk to us, but not unless we pony up $300. This is clearly an extortion operation, but with no alternative, I cough up the dough and the wise man appears. He tells us that Kyushu is now floating in outer space, but if we can acquire the 4 miracle items and bring them to the stone circle, we can go to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Space!
We already have 3 of the miracle items, so it's time to find the 4th. Asking around town, there's a rumor that if you climb the local waterfall, you can become a mermaid. Sounds like a credible rumor if I ever heard one, so I go check it out. One button mashing minigame later, and Yai gets the ability to swim underwater, which in turn means I can get into the next dungeon. Upon entering the sub, I'm quickly met with the theme of this dungeon: food. I guess this is what that person back in town was talking about when they said that they smelled food near the lake. We're talking sushi platforms, ramen bowls, onigiris, the works. You even become the soup at one point, where you're swimming through broth and see green onions and stuff passing by. This dungeon is making me hungry. Yai gets a bazooka. It, kinda sucks. They're doing my girl dirty. She's literally just Flute and Fish Girl for most of the game. Eventually I make it to the end and meet Poron, the final member of the Peach Mountain Gang. In a twist that no one saw coming, Poron dropped a miracle item when they were on vacation in Zazen Town. Kitty Lily shows up again to taunt us, and Spring Breeze Dancin' shows up too, just because he thought he wasn't getting enough screen time. Poron activates the self-destruct system, and with only 30 seconds on the timer, Sasuke says that in times like this is what is needed, and blows the mighty conch, starting our second robot battle. Dash dash dash! Yes, the whole song plays again, but it's awesome, who cares? A similar run-up level and then the boss. This giant fish isn't too hard to fry. Like an average knight, I put the pipe to use and catch him hook, line, and sinker. Do you think Impact could cook a fish by punching it fast enough? Food for thought. We're on the hunt for the 4th and final miracle item, but it's going to require going back to Zazen Town. Naturally, we hit up Benkei since he's a collector, but he points us in the direction of someone with an even greater collection than his own, a Kappa. The Kappa is willing to give us the miracle item if we bring him his favorite food, a cucumber. Not just any cucumber though, it has to be a special one that's only provided by a man from up high, on a rock. That means that Sasuke needs some special jumping training from the priest. He gives me the key and I wander around aimlessly because I forgot which path leads to the area where I need to use the key. Once I finally figure it out, I open up the lock and complete the training no problem. We can now go get that cucumber, is what I would like to say, but the fucking thing costs $800 and I don't have that kind of money, so it's time to do a little grinding. Way back in Oedo Castle, I remember there being a room full of pots, so I reload the area a few times and make the cash I need with minimal effort, grab the cucumber and deliver it to the Kappa for my prize, the miracle snow in the shape of a snowflake. I head back to the stone circle and place the 4 miracle items. This is where the game informs me that I won't be able to come back. I had meant to go buy the armor from the underwater shop, but I didn't feel like grinding all that cash, so now we ball. Space, the final frontier. The jams are out of this world. A quick romp through the dungeon and only a mild amount of frustration with these flipping box things. I end up in an area where the NPCs from Kyushu are hanging out. We meet up with Omitsu and she's totally fine, but mentions that we'll need to meet up with a certain someone to upgrade our weapons once again, to open the path. Nearby we find the wise old man who wasn't dead at all and may have helped the Peach Mountain Gang with the instant stage beam and robot invasion in exchange for a muscle car poster and some car magazines. Sure buddy, we know it was hentai. Joke's on him, he's completely unaware that they blew up his house. In a fit of anger, he upgrades our weapons to level 3 and we're finally on the home stretch. It's go time. Entering the final hall, there is nothing but silence as I walk forward. A grand staircase lies in front of me and the enemies break into song? Our heroes are dumbfounded for a moment, but once again the self-destruct sequence has been activated. You know what that means. I don't know about this last run-up. I just constantly keep fucking it up. I guess it doesn't really matter too much because we jump into space and it's time to fight the Peach Mountain battleship, Baldera. I mash Z like I'm making potatoes and take out all of the pieces fairly quickly so that I can open up the peach and shoot inside, if you know what I'm saying. It's not over yet though, as the grand finale is about to begin. The Fairy of Love and Dreams, D'Etoile, can fuck right off. He's a slippery little bastard who hits like a truck and has a ton of health. I died a couple of times here trying to figure out the best timing to grab him and counter his charge attacks. When he gets to low health, he begins a cycle where he starts firing meteors at you, and this will repeat over and over again if you're not quick on your grabs. Eventually though, I put him in my pipe and smoke him. Danson calls us Fernandez one more time and says that as long as the instant stage beam remains in their possession, Japan will one day become a beautiful stage. Our hero exclaims that their evil plan will not work and then says that it's not Fernandez, it's Goemon! And blows the Peach Mountain gang away with an energy blast. Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again! Returning home, the gang just kind of forgot about rescuing Kyushu, but thankfully the island falls from the sky and everyone is safe and sound. A massive group of screaming girls starts running towards us. We're the heroes of Japan! Everyone must be happy and want our autographs! Yai notices something strange, however, and the girls start screaming at us for defeating Danson, and now they won't be able to see the show because of us. A sandal goes flying, and the credits play. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon is a wonderful little game. It's charming and funny with a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek approach to telling its story. While nothing incredibly deep happens, it's a fun little platformer that feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. There's a fair amount of jank to the game, and it's pretty short for what should feel like a much longer journey across Japan, but is straight to the point and doesn't take too long to complete. I feel like some of the aspects of the game could have been a bit more fleshed out because aside from a little backtracking, you just more or less follow a straight line through the game, and the upgrades seem more situational than functional. I absolutely love the soundtrack. It's catchy, upbeat, and even a little funky at times, and I regularly hum some of the tunes while I'm walking around. It fits the mood of the game perfectly and makes even some of the more tedious parts a bit more bearable. Give this game a shot for sure if you have the means to do so. It's worth it to just go around talking to the different NPCs and seeing all the hilarious little interactions as the game goes on. If you can get past some of the frustrations in the controls, you will find a neat little adventure that I feel deserves a little more attention for what it did at the time of its release. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it greatly. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to like, subscribe, and do all the algorithmic stuff to help me out. See you next time!